Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tip-Off 2021-2022. Dr. Ron Poniewasz, basketball MD, and Professor Larry Kelly, the Neshannock varsity baseball coach, decked out in his Neshannock gear, as well as Newcastle ninth grade basketball coach. We thank him for joining us, and we welcome him. Welcome, Larry.
It's always a pleasure to hang out with you, Ronnie. I don't get a chance to hang out with celebrities too often, so anytime the opportunity presents itself, I'll be there.
I figured you would be decked out in your Neshannock gear, so I figured I'd come in a little blue and gold myself.
Yeah, you got a little blue and gold going. Yeah, the Wildcats we were working on today in our new facility, which is very nice and gives us an opportunity to get some swings in and loosen our arms up because we, as you might imagine, we haven't been on our field yet. A few times out on the football field, but we're hoping next week the weather's going to warm up. We'll be ready to go.
All right. We have a few topics here to go over. We'll tell you about athletes of the week. 3 teams that had quite a journey recently. We will also let Larry loose on the Red Hurricane report. I have no idea what's on his agenda. I have not asked, so it'll be a surprise. I don't know the length of said agenda. And then finally, we will wrap it up with at least 2, maybe 3 random topics that we'll run through. But first, we had 3 teams reach the Peterson Events Center. That is the Neshannock girls basketball team, as well as the Newcastle boys and the Union boys. The Lady Lancers won the only WPIAL championship of that bunch, winning it 46-23 over Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. First off, Larry, just in general, what it takes for a program to navigate the field and reach the WPIAL championship. And you know, obviously these three teams were seated very high. I believe number 2 all the way through. Neshannock girls, Newcastle boys, and Union, all 3 were a 2 seed, I believe.
You know, it takes consistency of play. The margin for error and the margin for victory gets really, really small moving forward. And basketball is a unique sport. Unlike football, you can't dominate the line of scrimmage and just, dominate your other team physically. In basketball, it's such a skill game that, you have one bad shooting night and you can go home. And so I think all 3 of these teams that made the WPIAL final were solid and consistent and on, all 3 phases of the game. First of all, offensively, you got to shoot it well. You can't turn it over. And all 3 of these teams protected the basketball and shoot it pretty well consistently. And then lastly, they defend, night in and night out. And all 3 of these teams were stellar defensive teams. Coach Gabrowski, she mentioned in her comments in the Newcastle News about how her team, I think, only gave up 50 points twice all year. And, it again was their defense that held down Bishop Canevin in this game that led to their victory. So I congratulate all 3 teams, even though only one team won the WPIAL championship. Just to get there is special. To play in the Peterson Events Center is special. The atmosphere, I wasn't there for the Union game, but for the Neshannock women and the Newcastle boys was something that these young men who played in that game will always remember. It was fantastic. Great teams, great seasons.
Mm-hmm. The Neshannock girls, as I mentioned, was the lone victor of the 3. Again, that 46-23 win over Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. The team split the regular season section meetings, each team holding serve at home, winning the home game. Marin Haggerty had 14 points and 10 rebounds to lead the Lady Lancers in that game. 3 players reached double figures for Neshannock, and that's kind of a recipe for success for any school, much less Neshannock. That's what Coach Grabowski is looking for, multiple girls in double figures, 3, possibly 4, and a good defensive effort. And she got both ends of that on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, when you have 3 players reach double figures in a championship game, you've had a pretty good game. That's telling me that you're running really good offense and that you are scoring points within the confines of your offense. You run good offense, different people are going to get shots. And I've watched the Neshannock women long enough to know that when they get open looks, they knock them down.
The Union boys got things started on Thursday early evening, 5 p.m. And I believe, now that I think of it, I think Union might have been seeded third in 1A. I'm not positive on that, but they lost 58-45 to Bishop Canavan. I believe that's the third year in a row the teams have butted heads in the WPIAL playoffs. Matthew Stanley had 16 points, a nice performance. He was 5 of 22 shooting. He picked things up in the fourth quarter. He had a really nice fourth quarter to kind of kickstart the Scotties and give them life and give them a little bit of hope down the stretch. Not the greatest of shooting performances, 5 of 22, a little bit better. Certainly puts them in the ball game, but still a great season to this point by the Scotties, and a great effort against a very tough team.
Well, I mean, they're playing a Pittsburgh AAU team. I mean, it's Union that graduates about 50 kids in their graduating class against a school that recruits the entire city of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. I'm proud of the Scotties. They battled. They had a great season. They're still a young team. They're bringing a lot of guys back next year, well coached. I expect them to make another run at it. I do. I think if I read the paper correctly, though, they had some turnover trouble that, may have cost them in that game. You got to protect the basketball. You just can't have empty possessions in championship games. You just can't, because the other team you're playing is really, really good.
Sure. And then lastly, we'll touch on Newcastle briefly. If you could say a couple words after I introduce it a little bit, Larry, and then, obviously you'll talk much more about it in the Red Hurricane report. The Newcastle boys lost 60-58 in double overtime against Laurel Highlands. Michael Wells had 23 points and 9 rebounds. Just another day at the office for Michael Wells. Certainly came to play in a big setting, big environment. Newcastle was up to the challenge for 4 quarters and beyond. Just didn't work out. Things were obviously out of their control down the stretch. Your thoughts on the Newcastle championship game?
It was a great game. Maybe we'll go down in history as one of the best WPIAL championship games ever played. It was a great game because both teams played well. We made Newcastle 9 threes in that game. We held Laurel Highlands about 20 points below their season average. Our big gun, Michael Wells, had 23 and 9. Their big gun, Rodney Gallagher, I think, finished with 26 points. So the stars were there. The stars came out to play. Both teams played well. No loser in that game. It was a game that was ultimately decided by foul call with less than a second to go, and I think that's unfortunate. And it took away. It almost tarnished, what amounted to one of the best WPIAL championship games to have ever been played. And, I'm a firm believer you got to let the kids decide the game. It's like playing on the playground. When the game's to 7 and the score's 6-6 and you're driving to the bucket, nobody calls a foul after the shot doesn't go in. Nobody. You just don't. That's like a playground rule. You don't do it. Nobody says, "Oh, you hacked me. I want the ball again." Nah. And that's the way it should be in these games, and I'm sure nobody feels worse about the foul call than the official who made the call, because it's all over the internet. The play was several angles of it. I think clearly established that there was very little contact on that play, certainly not enough contact to make a call to decide the game. So, it almost tarnishes the victory somewhat for Laurel Highlands. They're a great team, though. They played great. They deserved the win. I'm sure the referee wasn't happy about it. If he could change the call, he probably would, because no referee wants to decide the game. The official is a good official, and that's why he's in that game. and it leaves a sour taste in your mouth if you're a Newcastle fan. It's one thing to lose it on the court. It's another thing to lose it on a foul call with less than a second to go. But it was a great game by two great teams.
Did they not have a little chit chat at mid court right after the foul? The three officials, did they not gather briefly and have any sort of discussion? It kind of looked like they did, if I remember right.
Well, they did, and it's my understanding. I know an official who knew one of the officials, so he called them. Apparently, all they were discussing at that time was how much time was left on the clock. I thought when they went into that huddle, the discussion was whether or not the period was over, because the horn sounded, Ronnie. And when the horn sounds in a high school basketball game and you can't go to the monitor like they do in the NBA in a college game, the period's over. So I thought that's why they were having that discussion, to determine if the foul call was made after the horn sounded. But apparently that wasn't the discussion. The discussion was how much time was left on the clock. And truth be told, how did they make that decision? There's no monitor to go to. How did they make that decision as to how much time was left on the clock? So, it was just an unfortunate ending. If you're a Newcastle fan, maybe if you're a Laurel Highland fan, you thought it was a great ending. But if you're a Newcastle fan, it's an unfortunate ending to a great basketball game. That was a great game by two great teams. And maybe we'll meet again. We're on the same side of the bracket. We would have to meet in the Western Final. And I think people would look forward to that, because I expect it would be another great game.
Okay, that is our athletes of the week. Neshannock girls, Newcastle boys, Union boys, all three making the WPIAL championship game. We had one winner of the bunch. In baseball, 1 for 3. You're a Hall of Famer. You're batting .333.
Absolutely.
You're doing good. In basketball, when you're pulling for Lawrence County teams and hoping that you need shades because there's a lot of gold going around and got a lot of reflection coming off those trophies, 1 for 3 isn't what the fans and students and coaches and players were looking for. But nonetheless, we've moved forward together into the state playoffs, and those are our athletes of the week: Neshannock girls, Newcastle boys, Union boys.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other. Be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly, and I'm a Newcastle guy.
Okay, we are back with you for our last segment here on Tip-Off. And Larry, I'm a referee, and I'm going like this from the corner or anywhere on the court. That's 3, my friend. That's not 3 foul shots. That's a referee signaling the ball's in the air and a trifecta is on its way toward the basket. Now, I kind of thought you would touch on this in the Red Hurricane report and give Isaiah Boyce mad props for, having stones to hit that 3-pointer in overtime. And you didn't do it. So here I go. All right, Larry. Laurel Highlands goes to the foul line, misses the front end of a 1-and-1. Newcastle gets the ball, the clock's running, and they go. All right. Newcastle drives down. Now, do you foul, being that you're up 3, if you're the coach, or are you playing it out and saying, hey, you got to hit an 18, 20-foot jumper, whatever, and that only ties me? How are you playing it out?
I was always a proponent of fouling.
Mm-hmm.
And I was afraid Laurel Highland was going to do that, because if you foul and put us on the line, you have to make the first foul shot, right? And we're still in a 1-on-1. I don't believe we're in the double bonus. You have to make the first one. Then you got to miss the second one and get the rebound. But, there were 13 seconds left when we took the ball out. So if you foul too early and you foul Isaiah Boyce, who's as clutch a foul shooter as you can have, and he makes them both, we're going to call timeout, try to steal the inbounds pass, and foul you back. And now, if you got to make your foul shots. So a little bit early in the game, the rule of thumb normally is if it gets under 5 seconds, foul, and make them make the first, miss the second, get the rebound, and do something about it. 13 seconds left, maybe a little soon to foul. And, Isaiah took a tough shot, and he let it go with literally 2 seconds left, I think, or something in that area. And he has ice water in his veins. Listen, I coached that kid when he was in 8th grade, and I can think of 2 or 3 times in 9th grade basketball games he made the same shot. I'm telling you, the kid has ice water in his veins. It was a big shot.
Distant memory of possible shooting struggles from earlier in the season, because he knocked that right in the bottom. As you would say, he put that ball through a thimble.
Yeah, he might have been 4 for 5 from 3. I mean, we made 9 threes in that game, and he was stroking it. But that doesn't surprise me. The young man's one of the best shooters I've ever seen, and I've been watching it since he's been in 8th grade. The young man can play, and he makes big shots in big moments, Ronnie. So it didn't surprise me he made it. But to get back to your question, Larry Kelly's philosophy would be to foul. Mm-hmm. I've seen too many three-pointers go in, at the buzzer to beat teams. So, I would have guarded him tightly. But when it got under 5 seconds, I'd have fouled, put us on the line, and now we need a miracle, basically. Make one, miss one, get the rebound, put it back in. That doesn't happen too often, especially Laurel Highlands, pretty good rebounding team. They rebounded the ball pretty well.
Was Newcastle out of timeouts and it was just push it and go, or did did Newcastle just say?
No, we were not out of timeouts. I believe we had one left.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you and the rest of the coaches possibly have a chat at some point at practice, maybe on the phone, I don't know, on the ride home? You said you didn't ride the bus, but did any of the coaches say, boy, I'm surprised that they didn't foul, or we were expecting them to foul and they didn't? Or
No conversation about that. I mean, I met with Ralph on Monday. It's never real good to discuss those things immediately after the game. Emotions are running high. You're not thinking really clearly. Everybody was bitterly disappointed. But nobody discussed that. But I'll say this much. I was at a Pitt game when they were playing, and they fouled at the end. And I asked the announcer, whose name escapes me right now, but I was sitting at courtside with my dear friend Jimmy Barber, and the announcer who was doing the ACC game was a former coach, and I asked him about it. He said the analytics say that you have a better chance of losing the game if you foul than if you don't. It's a 1% difference. In other words, I don't remember the exact percentages, but if you don't foul, I think you win the game 96% of the time. If you don't foul. If you do foul, you win the game 95% of the time. So the analytics, according to what he told me, established it that by fouling, you actually have a better chance of losing the game. So, and that came from an ACC, former ACC coach whose name escapes me right now. I wish I could remember it, but the guy coached in the ACC, and we were discussing, because Pitt fouled in that game and won the game.
Seth Greenberg?
No, it wasn't Seth. He wasn't on the game. I would have remembered him.
Okay, because he used to coach Virginia Tech, and he's now.
Yeah, he did. I can't. I wish I could remember, but the guy's the real deal. And that's the analytics that he gave me.
This is why I am a sports writer, sports editor now, and not a coach. I would not foul for the reason being, you got to make a kid shoot an 18, 19, 20-foot shot, and that only ties you. the kind of luck I would have as a coach, foul him. Okay, he goes to the line. He makes the first one. And then something happens. The ball gets batted outside. You catch a 3, open look. Now you lose. I'll take my chances. You hit a 3, great job. Good for you. Now we go play another overtime. That I would play it out. I don't care. So I would not foul in any
Here's
situation.
the analytics I look at. In the high school game, the really good three-point shooters make about 40%, 4 out of 10 of their threes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a 40% chance that a high school game, they're going to go to the line, make the first, miss the second on purpose, get the rebound, and score? Do you think there's a 40% chance that'll happen?
That's why I'm not fouling.
Yeah.
I'm putting my
And that's why I am.
yeah.
That's why I'm going to foul, because there's these kids. They shoot those threes like we used to shoot layups. They're just it's all they practice, and the good ones they shoot it at 40%, some even higher.
Yeah, and another reason for me, I used to work with a guy. He's since passed away, but he was a reporter, and plus he also was a basketball official. And he used to say, back in the late stages of a game, when you're trying to foul to stop the clock, you could call an intentional foul on every one of those. Why? Because your intent is to foul. So on something like that, when you're fouling on before a three-pointer because you don't want them to shoot, that's your intent. So I don't want to see my guy get called on an intentional foul and then really be put behind the 8 ball. So
yeah, but a good official's never going to do that. Never going to do that.
I don't want to press my luck.
Yeah, well, good officials won't do that.
Right.
You're right. You're trying to foul them intentionally. There's no question about it. But a good official isn't going to call an intentional foul, give them 2 shots and the ball out of bounds.
Yeah. Okay. Progressing real quick here. A couple of them, we'll try to knock them out real quick. Newcastle hosted Northeastern, and Northeastern had like a 4.5-hour bus ride somewhere around that vicinity on a school night. Penn Hills, I believe it was. Penn Hills had a long bus ride. And on the way back, if I remember on Twitter, the bus driver was falling asleep at the wheel and they had to pull over and get another bus driver. And remember, they're like, if I read right on Twitter, could these games have been played normal like years past where Friday, Saturday is your first game, considering these long bus rides? Now, not
I would have recommended that. It's hard to play 3 days after your championship game and then to make kids get on a school bus for a 4-hour ride on a Tuesday night. That's bad planning.
Right. And the other one is this happened tonight, Larry. The Union girls won 42-33. And again, with this, the 3 referees did not show up on time because they went to Union Reimersburg.
Oh, geez. That's the second time that's happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can there be something done? And I was watching a stream last night, or maybe it was listening to the Newcastle game. I believe James Dotson was saying that the Union boys game was going to be streamed on NFHS, high school National Federation of High Schools, or whatever its acronym is, and they were going to stream that one through that. But you know what they streamed? They streamed a bunch of 10-year-old kids from Union Reimersburg playing around, in the Union Reimersburg gym, and people paid for that.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, the assigners for the officials got to make it clear. Look, you're playing at Union High School in Lawrence County, Pennsylvania, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Yeah, that's the assigner that's kind of asleep at the wheel.
Well, and the PIAA bracket, when we get done, Larry, go to PIAA and the 1A boys. It literally says on there, Union High School, Newcastle. I mean, how much more do you need to be told? I don't know what good it would do, but I'm thinking if I'm Stacey Robinson, at some point I'm drafting a letter and I'm mailing it, emailing it, doing whatever to every school in the state of Pennsylvania, the referee commission, what have you, people that stream games, and say, here's our address. Go to this address.
You're on a rant now. You're on a rant. By the way, Stacey Robinson, my dear friend, congratulations. Mm-hmm. He's the head football coach of the Newcastle Red Hurricane. Well-deserved. Mm-hmm. Excellent choice by the school board.
That's right. That makes me a knucklehead for not congratulating Stacy first. Congratulations, Stacy.
That's a good man, and he's going to do a great job, and he'll be a great coach, but Larry Kelly's view, more importantly, a great mentor to those young men.
Mm-hmm. All right, Larry, we have run long. We are going to get yelled at by Pete. You know,
that's all right. Listen, I think we had a very, I think the topics provoked some very good discussion tonight, and hopefully our listeners enjoy it.
That's right. Hopefully, hey, if they have comments or opinions on it, reach out to us. You know, we're happy to, you know, field opinions from our viewers. NewcastleSports@hotmail.com, NCSports@ncnewsonline.com, and you know, Larry's on Twitter. He's always posting his 2 cents worth on stuff. So reach out to Larry Kelly.
And that's about all it's worth, 2 cents.
All right. Well, Larry, you got a big game on Friday night, my friend. I got a little bit of a ride. But best of luck to you and the staff, and best of luck to all 8 of our teams that are still alive after Wednesday night. We'll have plenty to talk about next week.
Survive in advance. Survive in advance.
And that's what every team has done so far. He's Larry Kelly. I'm Ron Poniewasz. We're both long-winded. We'll talk to you next week, everybody. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
I became an attorney because I believe in hard work, fairness, and human decency. In a word, justice. Our workers' compensation clients deserve justice because in an instant, their hard work turns into hard times when they get hurt on the job. No doubt, life is tough, but so am I. I've been fighting all my life, and I'll keep fighting for you. I'm Joe George, and here in Lawrence County, it's personal.